Hi, I'm Rishi, co-founder and CEO of IndiQube.
Can we start with a broad uh, journey into entrepreneurship? What made you step into the world of entrepreneurship, and especially considering that you are like an IIT alumnus. So just take me through that, like from IIT into entrepreneurship, how that happened.
So the idea about entrepreneurship very vaguely was always in my head. So when I was basically in school itself, the thought about entrepreneurship was clearly there. And when I went to IIT Roorkee, that is where I see that this whole thing got manifested purely because of some coincidence and some opportunities that came my way. So I was fortunate there to get an elective into entrepreneurship while being there. And those days, entrepreneurship was not like something what it is today. Even people had a difficulty pronouncing the word entrepreneur. It used to be a businessman, right? So got that opportunity, and then there was a science technology entrepreneurship park at IIT Roorkee, and I happened to start the student chapter for that uh, and also did a floriculture venture, supported my uncle at Lucknow, and then did a project as part of my entrepreneurship elective. So those were my early stints with entrepreneurship, and that clearly by the time I was passing out, I was quite confident that someday I will do something on my own. And as it happens to everyone on campus, I was lucky to get a job with Tata Unisys. Uh, uh, Joined there, and the very first day when I went, then I realized that I'm back to kindergarten, and I just felt that I am too restless to actually go through this ladder, and pretty much that very day decided that job is not something my piece of cake. But always believe that it will be a good idea to do an MBA and then possibly plunge into entrepreneurship. So with that intent, held on to the job for 6 8 months, wrote CAT, and could not clear that. And once the results came out around Feb, I was fairly, I decided to abruptly move out and head back home. And first few days, my parents thought that I'm here on vacation and all. And sooner or later, they realized that he's not going back. So that is one part of it. Then obviously had a conversation with my parents, and they said, "Fine, explore what you want to do, and give yourself a couple of years and see that if things work out the way you want them to be." So then started exploring, and Lucknow being a small city, typically, and 90s was not the time. There was a lot of challenges, typically the coalition politics and mafia and so many other things. So dabbled my hand on few things for about a year and a half, and finally decided to start Careernet along with my brother Anshuman. Yeah, so that's the early part of my, yeah, you can say the formative years before becoming an entrepreneur.
Okay, interesting. So, today when people think of doing entrepreneurship, they will evaluate how big is the market, what's the total addressable market, is there a founder market fit, am I the right person to build this business, and so on. What was that process like for you? Like when did you feel that yes, this is the right business for me to do, and I have found like a fit in terms of my skill sets, what, how big the opportunity is, and so on.
So I think, yeah, most of the things that you said, yeah, I think are all they were inventions or creations in the last 5 or 10 years. But when we were starting, nothing of that type of honestly crossed our minds. I think why we narrowed down on this opportunity of starting CareerNet, three, four things we looked at. One was that what is our core competence? And we realized our core competence was that we came from a good pedigree and had a brief stint with IT, understood IT to some extent. And those were the early days of IT. That was one thing which we could see as was a core competence. The second aspect was that why choose recruitment? So there, whatever opportunity we were looking at, one thing was very clear that we cannot afford any capital because my father was an honest government servant, upright servant. So we never had the capital, so to say. So one thing was very clear that the business should not require a lot of capital. That was a big requirement. And while we were at college, both me and my brother is my co-founder in Careernet. So both of us were very active into our alumni activities, as well as our basically the campus activities. So we had I will say, a very fulfilling 4 year stint, both of us at our campuses. So I think networking came very naturally to us. So that's a big plus we were having. And what we found at that point of time was missing was that IT industry was just starting. If you see, when my brother joined in '98 from IIT Delhi, and so when his employee ID was about 2000. So you can imagine Infosys, good, bad, all combined was 2000 people. And the industry was doing quite well, growing because the Y2K problem had already started coming in. So we found that whatever people who were providing manpower or recruitment services for the IT industry were all essentially coming from FMCG and pharma, because those were the two sectors which got liberalized even before the IT boom started. And those people were having a lot of difficulty understanding the technology, the skill sets, and all of that. So we found that was our USP. That we came from technology backgrounds. We had a brief stint with technology as careers. So we found that was a USP. Capital requirement was low. Uh, and those days were different. Like Naukri was just there, and there was technically no job portal, so to say, over there. Plus, the social media obviously was absent. The outgoing calls were 16 rupees a minute over there. So I think that was a time when communication was very low. So we believe that people, if who have to do well in this kind of business, have to survive and thrive on their natural networks, typically which they bring from their schools or campuses and all that. So I think all that pretty much fitted well. The low capital requirement, our core competence, our USP, and the gap that we saw in the market is where we narrowed down that this is an area where we should focus and explore further.
Yeah, okay, okay, amazing. How did the revenue numbers stack up? Like first year when you started this, what kind of revenue did you do? How many employees did you have? How did that progress over the next couple of years? Like rough numbers. I'm sure you don't
Yeah,
remember
yeah.
exact numbers.
So if you see, the first year was 99 2000 financial year, and we had just three employees other than me and Anshuman. And between five of us, we did a revenue of about 85 lakhs. So that was
Amazing.
a lot of money. Typically, as you can imagine,
Yes.
when the salary in IT industry was about close to 2 lakh rupees for a fresher. So is that kind of a salary number for five of us generating, and pretty much everything was margin, as you
Mm.
can imagine, because hardly any overhead. We're operating from a home office, and we're living in the same house, and a couple of rooms in Koramangala we have allocated for office. So that was our office home, uh, kind of a thing. And the best part, I must say this, all the three people who joined us then in the first year of our business are still with us. So that's a very heartening thing. Like 20, they must all be completing 25 years now in a year's time. So yeah.
Amazing. Amazing. Okay. And how did it proceed from this? So 85 lakhs first year, three employees next year.
Yeah. So then next year, obviously, it gave us a lot of confidence that we have hit something big, and we started building on that. And then subsequent year, we did about 1.4 crores of revenue. This was in 2001 financial year, and then year three was a tough one because by that time the dot com bust had happened. So we almost
9/11 also kind of hit
9/11
IT
happened, and
revenues.
yes, correct.
Mm.
And then this whole loosened bankruptcy happened. They filed for bankruptcy in US, and then India normally takes a while, or there is always a lag when something explodes in US. It takes at least 2 quarters to 4 quarters to hit India. So I think we could see that what happened with 9/11. I think India, it hit around the middle of 2002. is what was it? So 2002 was a tough year. We had a flat year, but lot of I will say capability building happened during that period, because before that we were all focused on mostly the vanilla hiring skills, typically the C++, Visual C++ those days and all those kind of things. But what we found at that point of time, the semiconductor, the electronics, those industries were continuing to do well because they were not affected by the dot com. So we started working with Texas Instruments around that time, kind of companies. Plus other areas of technology, which were more, I will say, core engineering kind of skill sets, is where we ventured into. And we started expanding into other domains also, like banking and financial services and all that. And when 2003 came in, by the time this whole dot com bust problem had gone over, I think we saw very good growth because by that time the MNCs have started coming to India. Typically, it was no longer just the startup thing. And being one of the early movers, pretty much most of the MNCs at that time, starting from Microsoft to Intel to whatnot, almost all leading MNCs, we were able to impanel and work. So between 2003 and 8, a large part of our growth happened through MNCs, the offshore development centers. Startups were not too prolific as they are now. The startup thing started much later, but those were the years where a lot of it. Then we started geographical expansion. We opened up our offices in Delhi and Hyderabad, in addition to Bangalore. Yeah, and then also started getting a lot of business from Chennai and Pune as well. So that's how it started building up.
By 2008, what was your top line?
2008, we were doing about close to 20 crores of top line. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
About
Okay.
20 crores of
Okay.
top line we were doing. Yeah.
And what was your employee count?
Employee count will be about close to 200 people by that time. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So, recruitment is a very, very people dependent business.
Yeah.
Your core asset is your people. I mean, there's no IP asset built as such. It's just people. How did you scale up uh, uh, that asset of people? Uh, how did you scale that? Like managing 200 recruiters or 200 people,
Yeah.
making sure everybody is profitable, productive. Uh, and I'm sure you would not have had like a ready talent. You must have had to hire people and train them to be recruiters.
Yes.
Just tell
Yes.
me about the journey of organization building, capability building. What all did you do there? What did you learn?
Yeah.
Some of your insights.
Sure. So I think the first thing we followed the first principles approach to hiring. And the first few people that we hired, obviously, you don't have any brand equity as a startup. So people who join you somewhere know you directly or indirectly. So I think our first three hires were like that. The first employee to join us came through my brother's school friend's reference. The second employee was my schoolmate. Third was his batchmate at MBA, like that. And then we brought in a good number of people from IIT Delhi and IIT Roorkee who were our juniors from those campuses. And that was quite, I will say, a disruptive thing at that point of time, because it was completely unheard of, engineers from premier campuses joining the recruitment industry. And those people were obviously very loyal, very cohesive. And it was friends company. There was no concept of stock option at that point of time. Much in P and all, we started doing it, but it was not like what it is today. So I think the biggest reason people stayed back was they felt that they are in the company of friends. There was a lot of mutual respect. There is a high amount of trust amongst people. And we will typically start our day around 10, 11 in the morning and go till 2 in the night. And then we will head out a lot of times to ISC to have one omelette, pretty much. And a few of our senior employees, initially when they came to Bangalore, they stayed in the same house where we were staying. So we shared the rooms and all of that. So I think that was the biggest thing, and where the culture got built up of sense of belongingness over there. I will say that up to first 20, 25 employees never even got an offer letter. Typically, there was no concept of offer letter for those people. And there are people of that lot who have stayed back with us, where we have not done any appraisal discussion in the last 20 years. There have been good years, bad years, whatever we could afford or give it to them. They have been more than happy with that. So I think that is a key thing. Second thing was when in 2000 itself, when our database was crossing 1,000 employees, we realized that the Excel sheets are not going to work any further. So that's where we realized that we need to make investments into technology and ensure that because we realized early on that database at that point of time when Naukri and Monster was still just coming in, database was a big IP, intellectual property in this business. So we were quite clear on that. That whatever history of interaction we have with any candidate should be documented, and there was no concept of private database. Typically, all the employees can log in and see a particular candidate's case where it is being taken up and all of that. So we could reduce a lot of duplication of effort, a lot of silos approach over there. And if somebody's case has not worked out in company X, then we know we can try in a company which might be looking at a 90% fit instead of 100% fit and all of that. So technology was another big area of investment from the beginning. And obviously, we could not afford to hire full-time technologists. So most of our initial technology got built by our friends who did moonlighting for us. Typically, they were working in day jobs over the weekends or evenings. They were coding and helping us get our initial code out. The third thing I will say, what helped us was we realized early on that recruitment is not just a matchmaking business. Recruitment is a supply chain business. And there is a lot more to recruiting than just finding the right candidate. If you look at the whole life cycle, the screening, scheduling, assessments, background check, and then the whole application processing is a lot of work. So with that thought, we started HirePro typically. So that ensured that we no longer remained a firm which was just supplying CVs. We were able to capture the whole life cycle of hiring and effectively differentiate from our competition. Plus, we were able to build a lot of stickiness with our clients because since we were covering much larger part, like for example, pre-assessed candidates, we were providing to the companies. And unlike today, at that point of time, the engineering colleges were far and few. So companies wanted pre-trained people. That was a big requirement. And campus hiring used to be a really big thing at that point of time. So we came up with the concept of pre-assess candidates because companies were finding it difficult to go to every possible campus. So basically, so how do you pre-assess the candidates, curate that database, and make them available? So we started doing that in 2002-3. So those are the pioneering efforts that we did, which allowed us to remain ahead of the others. And also because we came from technology background, we always resonated with the business folks and the technology folks better than compared to the HR folks. So that way we were able to cut down a lot of bureaucracy. Because when we started working with MNCs, we realized that there is a good amount of bureaucracy. But since we were very closely working with the technology folks, the bureaucracy never came in our way. So yeah.
Okay, fascinating. I want to kind of zoom in a little bit more. So, i- in my experience, the recruitment firms which are profitable tend to have uh, like a very high focus on productivity, on tracking recruiters' output, and so you're saying that in your case it was more of a trust-based environment,
Yes.
and so you
Yes.
did not need that
Yeah.
level of that level of a stick approach.
Yeah.
It was
We
more of creating trust environment and
Yeah. You'll be surprised till date, other than for the executive search, which is a team of 20 people, we do not have any concept of incentives, basically, which are paid out on closures. Not a single
wow,
rupee gets paid out on closures because we never wanted people
which is
to get
industry norm,
shops.
right?
Yes. Yeah. So the culture
Okay,
was more like
unbelievable.
software culture. It was very collaborative because of that. So people were not operating in silos. They were not operating like shops within themselves. They were much more confident to share information. If they are talking over a chai, then they were happy to say, "Oh, why don't you try this candidate? This might work better in this position," and all of that. So there was a lot of collaboration actually, and on the floor. So, and that was a very conscious decision, because we could see that the nemesis of this industry was this, that there are 80 people, but everybody is operating as 80 shops. So we completely desisted from that from the beginning.
How do you align incentives then? Uh, I mean,
So,
like,
so there were,
you need to
so there was no
motivate
concept of
people for
incentives.
individual performance. Okay.
So basically
But,
what
but how
we,
do you align them with your goals?
uh,
Like
so
motivate them to be equally aggressive?
yeah. So we normally have from the beginning have like a 10 to 15% variable fee component in the salary, and that is mostly paid out on the team's performance. So for a particular business unit of 25, 30 people, how their team has done as a whole, and what productivity level they have been able to achieve, closures, conversions, and all that. Against that, most of the bonuses have been paid. So bonuses were not a very large component ever. Typically 85% salary, and most of the people used to get, I will say, maybe 5% people will get less than 100% promise bonuses. Most of the people used to get more than that. So we kept deliberately the bonuses low. That was a risk we took. But in the hindsight, it allowed us to ensure collaboration and camaraderie on the floor.
Which is opposite to today's mindset. I mean, today's mindset is gig economy. You get paid per piece of work you do. You don't work,
Uh,
you don't get paid. So you feel that this approach of giving job security, giving financial security gives you better results than
I agree.
gig economy approach of pay per output?
I fully agree with this approach that, you have to decide that what do you want to create. If you want to create an organization and a long lasting organization, I don't think the silo approach is going to work. So, for example, if you see in Careernet, we don't have a concept of work from home. Fine, if you require, you take it. There's no problem with that. But it's not something, because we want people to meet up, interact, and do stuff. So few things we were very clear, because we always looked up to the IT industry, to be honest, for a lot of our values. And I always used to tell people that, look, whatever Infosys, Wipro, or a Mindtree kind of company can give to their employees, we will try to give you better than that. But if you compare us with a captive center of a large MNC bank, or a very high tech startup running in US kind of a company, then we are a profit center, and that's not the benchmark. Uh, 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 so that was very clear to our people, and functionality was always the key. For example, right from 99, we have been providing food to all our employees. Food subsidy was always there. We provide transport to our employees. 50% of the transport costs of people who want to avail the company transport is paid out by us. So those, and then the health benefits and all that. Even when we are a startup, we provided that. So I think that is a very clear thing, that we wanted a big organization that should last for a long time. And even before me and Anshuman decided to make our homes, as our first few employees had houses, we were quite liberal in giving them even housing loans to our initial set of people. We are quite liberal with personal loans to our people. We don't have a concept of traveling and dearness allowance. It is purely on trust. What is required, you spend typically, and we will reimburse the entire thing. So the concept of entitlement did not set in into the company, and so that ensured that it's like a family, right? That if you need to spend, you think that, do you need to spend? Is it value for money? I think, and if you are convinced, go ahead and do it. So we always operated the way a family will operate typically, and look at things. And like, for example, we never kept booze as part of the office. If there is any booze in any party, you have to pay for it. So booze is never on the house in any of our office events, typically. So those are the places where we found that it kept us in good fold. That whenever money is required, it should be spent, but it should be spent with prudence. Yeah. And that is the reason you see that we never took any debt, any equity in the Careernet business. built it from scratch with a rented computer. Uh, I still remember the first computer that we took on rent was 2,500 rupees monthly rent. That was there in 98, 99. So started with that and built it. I think that's the right way, according to me, to build a business, unlike what we saw happen in the last 10 years. I'm happy that correction is happening now. Uh, so,
Incredible. Well, I just love the approach you took of creating a second home, which would have also helped you hire better
yes,
quality
yes.
talent, retain the
Any, and we
talent.
rarely hired from competition. Basically,
Mm.
we always, yeah, we rarely
Because
hired
the
from
culture
competition.
would not match, right?
No.
Because competition would all be like solo
Yes.
performers than
Yeah. So
team
most of our hiring
performers.
was from campus. We always preferred to hire freshers. We had
Mm.
basically concept of Careernet Academy for recruiting excellence, and everybody
Okay.
undergoes a 3 month training. It's a full time training which everybody has to undergo. Because what we realized when we are going to campuses, there was no concept of recruitment as a career. There were MBA, HR, and all that. Recruitment at best was an elective. So to have a professional who is a full-blown recruitment professional, there was no training or no program as such. So we said that let's go to the drawing board and create our own programs over there. And like for example, in India, if you see when people join, make an offer, and a lot of them don't join. Now, this is a very India-specific problem. Unless until you, a recruiter understands the cultural nuances, that why people don't take offers, don't join, and they know the right probing skills, it's very hard to improve your conversion. So we have a program called POFU, like post offer follow up. Now there are three levels of competencies we have in that. So one has to take certifications to cross one level of competency. So there are POFU experts in the company whose only job is to see that conversions are happening and all of that. Like that, then the domain specialization, because the amount of hiring we do in so many industries, so we expect our recruiters to be able to resonate with the hiring managers. So domain training is very important, whether it is banking, whether it is pharma, within technology is so deep, semiconductor, telecom, wireless, like that. So domain expertise is a key focus of area. And a lot of people are engineers who join us. So that is there. Then MBA with but a lot of technical background. So we always believe that building our own cadre is the right way rather than importing too much of talent here, there, and all that.
So essentially, the Care the Academy was again inspired by software companies. Right? They also
Yes,
typically put
yes.
people through a 3 month
Our inspiration was
onboarding
Infosys
training.
training program because my brother went through that training
Mm.
program, and it was an absolutely rigorous program. They used to pick up people who have no
Yes.
idea about technology. They were just hiding on aptitude. And so we took the Infosys training program as a benchmark and said that why can't we create something like this for recruiting? So
And you would typically hire MBAs or engineers like from campus?
So
What
it
kind
was
of
a mix.
colleges?
It was a mix of hiring. And one thing we were very paranoid in hiring was diversity, especially the regional diversity. So we never picked up people, too many people from a region, because that again we realized in India was a big challenge. That once you have too many people from one region, then people start using the same language in their conference rooms and all of that. It becomes very difficult for subsequent freshers or young people to survive in the company. So regional diversity was very critical. So as a result, we used to go far-flung even to places like Lucknow or Bihar or Bengal to recruit, even though most of the people we required were in Bangalore. And Bangalore also, wherever we went, we always preferred the colleges which had a lot of diversity of students over there. And within that, I will say 70% were engineers in the beginning. But engineers, as technology started becoming more and more lucrative, it was becoming hard to attract and retain engineers. Then we moved a fair bit to MBAs as well. Yeah. Another thing we realized because when we started, we brought in a good number of our juniors from IITs and all that. Uh, and over a period of time, we found that a lot of people who were not from IITs or with not great pedigree, they were doing equally good or better. So I think that is where we were corrected, that and we started looking at the more attitude of people rather than just looking at their pedigrees. So that was a humbling experience in our journey. And yeah, so we don't worry too much about the pedigree, because we believe that the recruitment kind of a job, if one has the right intent, one can pick up and do quite well over there. Also, from a retention perspective, we came up with a lot of career paths. Like for example, suppose somebody is a headhunter at heart, right? He wants to only do headhunting. Then we know that the person wants to be an individual contributor. That person can go on to be into executive search, where they can handle only high value placements and be high touch and all that. Then there are people who want to be more of managers. So they can go on to become delivery managers, typically managing a team of 30, 40 people, a large project, the people process technology part of it, handling it very well. Then the concept of practice managers came in, where people require domain knowledge, people who wanted to be more into client facing roles, who can do consulting, who can advise companies how to set up their India operations and all of that, uh, like that. So a lot of career paths came in, and as a result, we were able to retain a lot of people and grow them eventually. Otherwise, recruitment tends to be a very flat organization, and then people start leaving, venturing on their own, and all of that. So those that also came very handy in retaining people.
Did you have a lot of like centralized functions to hand over? Like, one approach is with an agency, you have one person who's end to end responsible from sourcing all the way till joining and invoicing. Or the second approach is you could break this up and they could be a team which is only sourcing, or the team, like you mentioned, you post offer follow up as a
Yes,
separate team. Uh, so did you go with that approach, like
yes.
functional
Yeah,
splits?
functional split is the
Okay.
approach we picked up, because we realized that, see, when you do not hire people with very, I will say, high level of intellect, it is always easier to give the same person more of the same work to do, rather than giving him or her
Mm.
10 different things to do. You give 5 times more things of the same type, the people do better over there. So at one point of time, if somebody is focusing a lot on headhunting, we allowed them to just focus on headhunting. The client relations was handled by somebody else in terms of follow up and stuff like that. Then post offer follow up, as you rightly said, was a separate team which came into there. And then the whole the billing, invoicing, collections was separate. And then we always encourage people to do employee rotation. So not put people in just one role for a long time, because their career development stop. But at one point of time, always focus that they do one part. So that again allowed us to scale up very, very well, actually. Otherwise, it would have been a difficulty. If expecting 10 different things to do, then individual is very difficult.
Okay. Okay. Fascinating. You mentioned a couple of other initiatives, like you spoke of pre-assessed candidates. How did you monetize that? I'm assuming the core recruitment business would be like a 8.33% of the salary offered would
Yeah,
be
yeah,
your
yeah.
earning, or maybe
Basically,
10 or
anywhere
12,
starting from
something.
there, going up to say 2 months, depending upon the
Okay.
hierarchy as well as the rarity of the skill set, is what used to be our fee model. So this was a model when it came to sourcing of profiles. Then we have assessment as a service. So they were there. We were developing the content for companies and providing them the platform to run that test and all. So there it is charged on per
That would be an alternative to metal
Yes,
kind of
exactly.
a
Yeah, correct.
SaaS product.
Metal,
Okay.
very track kind of business. So there, we were doing that. So that business is doing well, continues to grow. So there, the pricing is
That would be like a SaaS business,
it's a SaaS
subscription
business. It's a SaaS business.
pricing.
Yeah, like pay as you use model, kind of a thing, where yeah, any number you consume, you pay. And then what has happened, because over years we now have data, so we have tried to blend both hiring as well as assessment, where we are saying that we will give you pre-assessed talent and we will promise you a service level. Where say if you need 2 candidates, you should be able to make one offer. So bring it down to that level. So organizations are willing to pay us more. Instead of say 8.33, they don't mind paying 10%, 11%, purely because it saves a lot of time at their end. So that is a value addition we were able to bring in because of the amount of data that we had on the candidates. And this model worked very well in the entry level hiring. So what was happening, if you see 2003 to 7 kind of a time frame, or even now to a large extent, that the bigger companies like Infi, Wipro were going to possibly every campus and hiring. But companies which were looking at hiring, say, 100 people, 200 people, and were not paying like a Google or a Microsoft kind of a very high salary, those companies were actually missing out. They did not had the numbers to justify going to say 100 colleges over there. They were paying well. The quality of work they were doing was also very good. The candidates were also interested. But what we found the real thing lacking was that how do you connect the two? So for such companies, we came up with a concept of a PEP program. This is a preliminary exam for placement, physically PEP, as we used to call it. And then we used to go to all these campuses and do the PEP. And then using that database, the companies were able to recruit. Now, the placement officers or heads initially had a lot of resistance because they felt that we are maybe violating their hiring process. But over a period of time, they realized that it's not the case. These people are adding a set of companies which otherwise we are not getting on the campus, typically. So, and a lot of people want to go into domain, but suddenly they realize that one big mass recruiter comes in and everybody has to, one way or the other, forcefully apply there and get in. So they also wanted people who were very keen into electronics or instrumentation and all should get those kind of jobs. So that program was a very, very pioneering effort, and that allowed smaller companies to have the same kind of reach what a bigger company was having without having to spread themselves too thin over there. So that was a good pioneering effort. This whole Hire Pro thing, we pretty much pioneered the concept of RPO in India, recruitment process outsourcing. We did our first RPOs in 2003-4 uh, because we were finding that there was a lot of leakage in the hiring system. Like you send a CV today, right? And uh, now all interviews, even if you are taking 3 or 4 interviews, the whole process can get completed in 4, 5 hours. Uh, but you are taking 30 days to make an offer. So where is the 29 days going? And that was all back and forth. That the hiring manager is not there, the interview, the candidate is not there, this feedback has not come in, that has not come in, and all of that. So that is where we said that let's not just focus on sourcing. Let's our teams also go and sit next to the hiring managers and outsource the recruitment process over there. So RPO was a concept that got built in, and recruitment being a supply chain business, technology investment was always very significant. Even if you look at today, we will have about 150 people in the technology team. And so it's a large team. And a lot of technology we license. Today, if you look at a company like Accenture, they hire about 30,000 people from campus. And the entire hiring for Accenture campus hiring runs on our platform. Uh, and they made an exception for that worldwide. They were using a global platform. But looking at the complexity of hiring in India, they made an exception. So lot of we call it a TERM, which is technology enabled remotely managed. So that is our belief that if we should enable it to technology and remotely manage it, so that the personalization, the effectiveness doesn't go down. At the same time, we have better control to run systems centrally and all that. Like today, if you see, we support a lot of hiring for companies in US. This is US to US hiring, but the whole thing is run from India over there. So this is all possible because of technology.
Fascinating. Just to zoom in a little bit more, RPO, how is that monetized? How is it? How is the fee structure there different from regular sourcing
So
fees?
RPO, we have a process management fee, and that is separate from the sourcing fee. Because suppose a company is hiring 1,000 people, then obviously if we take up an RPO, our commitment to them is to get the 1,000 hires in a given cost point with the right turnaround time and right quality. Quality we measure through certain parameters like conversion ratios, early attrition, and all of that. All that goes into the SLA. So it's like a multi-year contract that we sign up that Whatever, suppose 1,000 hires you are doing over year on year for next 5 years, we'll run the RPO engagement for you. And we manage it through an on-site, off-site team with whatever technology they have, balanced technology we bring in as an operator, do that. So here we have two fee structures. One fee structure is basically as a processing fee. It is because I can't go and say that if you are hiring 1,000 people, all 1,000 will come from Careernet. Because the company will have employee referrals, they will have job boards, they will have other recruitment vendors working in and all that. So there is a clear line where we draw that all RPO engagements are managed by HirePro. They're not managed by Careernet. And Careernet happens to be one sourcing source typically for them. There are other vendors. Like today, if you see, we have more than 2,000 recruitment firms which we work with. Now, these are firms like Careernet, and the amount of transparency, trust we have, they are comfortable working because we are essentially a regulator player. So there is a conflict. Careernet is a player, whereas Hyper is a regulator. So we have been able to draw that kind of service level, transparency and all that, that a lot of recruitment firms are willing to work with Hypro, part with their data, and they trust that data is not getting leaked or mismanaged and all that. So that is how the RPO engagement works, that we get a fee for every hire, like say 5,000 going up to 15,000 rupee kind of a fee for every 1,000 placements. Whereas suppose 100 people out of this 1,000 came from CareerNet, there the sourcing fee will be applicable at 8.33 or 12 or whatever, like that.
Okay, got it. Fascinating. So Hire Pro is essentially your regulatory and
Yeah.
technology business. Like one is like an RPO plus
Correct.
tech.
Yes.
So your assessment product is in
Higher.
Hire Pro.
Yeah.
The
Right.
PEP that for pre-evaluated candidate hiring, that is also under Hire
Yes.
Pro.
Yes. Anything minus,
And the
anything
PEP,
minus
how is it
headhunting.
priced?
Uh, so anything minus
Hmm.
headhunting is all part of higher, typically. Yeah,
Okay,
like that.
got it. Got it. How is PEP priced?
PEP.
And do you still run that?
Yeah, so we run the PEP. We don't run it as a PEP any longer because yeah, last 15 years things have evolved a lot. But we have pre-assessed
Hmm.
candidates which we provide.
Hmm.
And again, nobody now for freshers is willing to pay 8.33, 10% and all that. So those normally work
Hmm.
at a flat fee of say anywhere from 5,000 going up to say 40, 50,000 rupees, depending upon basically the reality of the skill set, the niche and all that. So between I will
But it is still a success fees. If it's not like a paper profile fees.
we because we one thing we have registered is basically that we don't see us as an Naukri.com. So we never wanted to sell our database because we always believe a database is our IP. So we very clearly resist that. But in some cases we might have done it here there, but nothing like that. Yeah, always we prefer that we get fees on outcome based models over there, not on the
So
database.
you're comfortable taking on risk, uh, and that by virtue of taking on risk, your margins are better,
Yeah, yeah,
essentially. Like the low risk option would be to just say for every assist profile that you
yes,
access, I will charge you 1,000 rupees,
yeah,
for
yeah,
example. But then the margin there would be very poor.
yes,
You would not probably retention would also be poor, I'm guessing,
exactly.
because if a company doesn't convert,
Yeah, yeah,
they will not buy the product again.
yeah. You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Amazing. Amazing. Okay. And uh, Hire Pro, one part is the SS profiles, the other part is RPO.
Yeah.
What about the core technology? Like, do you have like a SaaS product
Yes, we have
also?
a SaaS product, and so through that
Hmm.
product, one if a company is looking at running automating their entire recruitment department, that is what we are able to take up, which is that is one. Then more often than not, we have found that companies come to us for point problem, point solution. Like for example, we have a very strong platform for self-proctored assessments because and then during COVID and even later on, now when you are giving written test to someone remotely, how do you know that the test has been fairly done? So we have a very strong platform, a lot of AI built in around that, and a lot of companies use that. Like a company like Amazon uses our proctoring platform. A Pearson uses our proctoring platform. So that we have realized has become a product by itself, actually, over there. Then interviewing as a service is doing very well, where people they want high quality technology managers or interviewers. It's like a complete Ola Uber of interviewing. So suppose you have 100 hires to do and you need to do 500 interviews, but you don't have the bandwidth. You have the bandwidth to do say 100 final interviews. So the 400 interviews that have to be done are all outsourced. And so because we develop a curated database of interviewers from which the companies can choose from. So right from the time they say that this candidate has to be interviewed till that candidate interviews transcripts are shared with the company, the whole thing runs on our platform. So the scheduling, the feedback, the interactions, the proctoring part of it, everything is done on our platform. So this is a highly scalable service where any company can reach out for any kind of interviews is there. Then now what we are finding, because when you do volume hiring, you have a very different challenge. For example, if a company comes to us and says that I want to recruit, say, 2 salespeople in 600 districts of India, we can complete that kind of hiring in a matter of 3 to 4 days. Uh, and that too supporting 24 vernacular languages. Because in a lot of
And
uh,
how do you do that? Like,
so
how did you build that
so what
capability?
happens is that a lot of these jobs, the issue is not about the competence. The issue is about intent. And intent also requires understanding the socioeconomic profile of the individual. Is very, very important. For example, if you want to hire people for insurance sales, right? Nobody wants to do that job. Essentially, in India, everybody wants a desk job in an AC kind of environment. And the brutal reality is that most of the jobs are feet on street jobs, or they are the shop floor jobs. So those kind of jobs, how do you ensure that you are able to reach out to a very large number of people without any human intervention and get to those people who are actually interested? So, like for example, we have auto dialers, like or whatever database we have. So, if there is a job opening, then we can run campaigns where in a matter of few hours we know that if you are interested, dial one. If you want to talk to our candidate, dial two. If you want to apply, dial three, like that kind of a thing. So that allows us to basically actually reach out and sift a very large number of people. Then once you have found somebody who's interested, then we do a lot of asynchronous assessments where there is a video that they record, a minute long video. Tell me something about yourself, right? That's a very common question. Now, most of these jobs, those are important things. Then what does this job entail? What this job is not all about? Orientation about the job. So a lot of these activities we are able to do without actually any human intervention over there. Then this whole document collection. Now you acquire their 10th mark sheets, 12, this, that, all that. So everything is on the app. Especially when you hire for banks, the KYC is huge for employees. So the entire document submission, if you have to take your photograph, you just take a selfie and upload. You just keep on scanning your document, you keep uploading. So your doc collection becomes highly DIY over there. And technically, the company can send out an offer letter in a matter of 2, 3 days. Plus, we map the socioeconomic profile. Now, somebody says, okay, in Delhi, I want to hire graduates for a very low end feet on street job. I don't think you will be able to hire. You have to look at 12th pass people. You have to look at people in the socioeconomic profile where their parents or their household incomes are say less than 40, 50,000 rupees in a Delhi kind of place. So there is a lot of socioeconomic data that you require on these profiles. So we have been able to crack that kind of hiring as well, where anybody in a 15,000, 20,000 rupee salary bracket also requires to be hired in a vernacular language. We are able to do that. Then the kind of postings that you need to do. You can't be posting on a Naukri.com. There are you need to do in the regional vernacular newspapers and publications and so much of that. So that's the whole thing that we have been able to create because that is a Bharat hiring, right? It's not India. So I always say that when we started the business, we were doing 5-star business, 5 city demand, 5 city supply. But now, if you want to, what our Prime Minister says, $5 trillion economy. Now the focus is that can I hire in 100 cities or 100 towns across India? And when you hire that scale, the problem statement is very, very different. So over years, we have been able to develop that kind of engine where we have brought all this together, the assessment knowledge, the hiring, sourcing, documentation, and everything together. And anytime, anywhere recruiting, basically, that's the thing that we are talking about. And one more thing I will say that we as a company have always believed that the issue in this country is not about talent availability. The issue is about talent connectivity. There is always candidates somewhere available with the right skill set, right compensation, right attitude available. How do you reach out to that candidate, and can you, in a cost-effective, viable manner, find that individual and bring it to the well? I think is the challenge and the opportunity. So like we do a lot of work for non-profit also now. Like look at people retiring from armed forces. Uh, Typically now, how you get those people back to job? A lot of women who take break because of marriage and family expansion want to come back. Now you can't expect that individual to suddenly come back and write an aptitude test and get into a company. So we run programs in collaboration with companies where such women, with their sponsorship support, runs boot camps, where for a month time, 1.5 months, these women professionals are able to basically warm up their skills and come back to the mainstream. Programs are there. Then with the people with the different kinds of disability is where focus is happening now. Uh, so there is a, like as I said, that India is a very large country, very diverse and very, I will say, not only diverse. I will say there is a huge disparity over there, and lot of divide is there. Typically, it could be rural-urban divide, it could be economic divide, education divide, and so many divides are there. So, how we bridge all of this? And now, after COVID, we are finding a lot of tier two growth is also happening because a lot of people want to actually see. What we see is that for the first 2 decades, especially of the IT industry, a generation of ours, we all went 2,000 miles, 3,000 miles for jobs. Right now, so essentially, people were going where jobs were. Now, jobs will go where people are. So I think the way IT industry added the first 5 or 7 million people, and the way IT industry will add the next 7 million people is going to be very, very different. And the point that you also highlighted about the gig economy, the gig workers, and all that. So like if you see our interviewing service is a gig service, where a pay as you use kind of a model. So we are also looking at that. The gig hiring is here to stay, and especially technology today is such a luxury. Like if you have to build a good technology team and retain people, it's so expensive that we are finding a lot of startups are very excited about using the gig workers over there. So
So all of this is under Hire Pro, the Bharat hiring piece,
yes,
gig interview service.
correct. Yeah.
Okay. So between the two, which is a bigger contributor to your group turnover,
Group turnover,
Hire Pro and
Careernet is a bigger contributor because the fee is very, very significant. And we also have an
okay.
executive search
Okay.
business, Longhouse Consulting.
Average price per transaction, yeah, or the average invoice value is much higher
Yes,
in
invoice value is much
Career.
higher. Yeah, yeah. And that is a
Okay.
more established business, typically a much bigger
Mm.
business. So yeah,
And what is your group turnover, or what do you estimate
group
this year
turnover
you
will
will?
be about 300 crores plus that
Okay.
annual turnover we have, and
Hmm.
iPro will be about close to 1/3 of that revenue, and
Okay.
2/3 will be
About
sourcing.
100
Yes,
crores.
yeah.
Hmm. Okay. 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 So Hire Pro is doing a lot. You're, I mean, so like say the Bharat hiring piece, you would be competing with someone like say Apna, which is a
Yes.
unicorn. In your gig interview piece, there are a couple of startups which have raised funding also in that piece. In the pre-assessed candidates piece, you have someone like say Aspiring Minds, which I don't know if they're still around, but at one point of time they had raised funds and
Yeah.
they were attempting to do this like pre-assessed candidates. Then you have a core applicant tracking system where
Yeah.
you're competing with both global and domestic players, like say a Lever or a Bullhorn at international level would be offering a similar hiring suit what you're offering in Hire Pro. Um, do you think you're doing too much? Might and assessments you're competing with, say, Metal, like the Proctor assessment, Metal has a similar offering, and all of these are like well-funded competitors. Uh, s- I mean, what's your take on this? Like doing so many things at the same.
So see so I think you very very good question you are asking. So if you look at our industry has seen possibly every possible kind of disruption. And I always say that the industry can get disrupted in say 6 or 7 ways. Uh, One is the technology, the digital part of it, which was I will say the Naukri.com and the job portals. That was possibly the first disruption that the industry saw. The second disruption was in terms of the social media coming in, the WhatsApp and LinkedIn and other qualified platforms coming in. A lot of hiring happens through WhatsApp and all as well. Then you look at the advent of MNCs in any business. In our business, we saw Manpower, Adeco, Randstad, and likes of them coming to India. Over this was mostly between 2003 to 2008-9 is when most of the MNCs came to India. And when obviously MNCs come to India, they come with bigger monies and they try to acquire Indian companies, good, small, bad, whatever it is, be there. Then you have startups which are there, and the startups get funded as you are talking about some of those guys which raise money. Then you have COVID kind of events, you have the subprime crisis kind of events, right? So I say that with a lot of humility and that our industry has seen all possible disruption. And I must say that we are the largest when it comes to full-time hiring. And we have seen all of that. Typically, if I go more specific to your point about that specialized firms that have come in, I think the nemesis has been that recruitment in the supply chain business, and you try solving a part of the problem. Mostly, the client problem is not just that. Client problem is poor quality input and what they do with your output. Uh, so I invariably, if those two are not good, they blame you. That okay, your solution was not good. You might be doing a good job of assessment, but if that assessment is not being properly utilized into your ultimate hiring, the blame comes on you over there. Similarly, with the input, like if you build anything on AI, if the input data is not at all curated, you may have a great parsing engine. It doesn't work. Then you look at technology. Now, if you are not managing data and technology properly, then what can technology do for you? And then you will blame it on automation. So I think this is a big challenge over here. And that is where we realize that in our country, we are not a DIY economy, uh, uh, first of all. So expecting people to actually use technology on their own is very limited, unfortunately. So we are assisted economy. So that is where this whole term of technology enabled remotely managed came in. While we would love people to use technology purely, but we know that they will require remote management. They will require that kind of support. So assisted services is clearly, and over a period of time, as the market matures, you can keep reducing your human part of it and expect more DIY to happen over there. So that has been our approach that we should do that. Plus, you cannot unless until you capture the entire data flow. It is very difficult to make intervention. For example, I have done a good assessment, but if I don't know what the final hiring has been and who has got retained, who has performed well in the company, then my ability I'm missing out on that feedback. To actually, I use it as an input to improve my assessments over there. So those are the places where, as part of Careernet High Pro, we said that let's look at the whole thing as a supply chain. And as I said that we are happy to support companies for point problem, point solution over there. also what happens is that when you have such a large, diverse supply chain, now in every aspect, somebody may say, okay, in assessment, there is a top three, top five. But as a large incumbent, I maybe say the top player in say three or four categories. But in rest of the categories, I'm happy to be even the top three, right? And we are not in the feature war. Like to take the example of housing.com and 99 acres, right? Now housing.com, the amount of money they burned to basically develop, try out new things. And as a large incumbent, 99 acres was smart enough to be 2 quarters of behind, but they do those things with one tenth the cost what they have done. So I think what we have done is, as a large incumbent, we have not burned those disproportionate amount of money. We have not played existential games, but we have been always alert and on our toes. And whatever good we have seen that something disruptive is coming in, we have tried to do that. May not be with the 9 on 10, maybe with 7 on 10. Because most of the time we have seen that as a large incumbent, if you are 7 on 10 is also good enough rather than a new kid on the block trying to do 9 on 10 kind of a thing. So those are the places where we have tried to play it smartly. We have not diluted any equity in the business, and we have not taken any existential bets into our business. Brick by brick approach, kept on building it. And that is where you see in our industry, the exits have not been good. Typically, like if you look at whatever some of the names that you mentioned, and you look at the valuations at which they were sold to large companies, and the amount of money they raised and the valuations they went out, I don't think that the investors made any good monies in those kind of deals over there.
And for you, your customer acquisition cost would be much lower, right? Like
Yeah.
somebody who's starting fresh will have to spend a lot on signing up customers, but you already have
Yes.
distribution, you already have
Yeah.
relationships. It will be a lot easier for you to acquire customers at scale
Yes.
if you launch a new product.
And also our we have a lot of alumni now. Because as I said that we have been hiring from campus, training people from scratch and all. And we have maintained excellent relationships with our alumni, being running things transparently. So mostly we have seen wherever ever alumni has gone, they are today heading recruitment, HR. They are giving us business. And in our business, you can't say one thing and do another thing. It's an open book. So they know that how we operate. So that comes very handy in our. So we have built good reputation, and in this business, it's very easy that okay, if some company is not doing well, and is your client, you start poaching from that company. We have never done that. If suppose by evening we see a lot of CVs coming in from that company or a particular team in that company, we have invariably gone and told the leadership that we see that there are certain places or pockets in the company where the problems are there. And this is what we are hearing. So kindly go and plug that. So companies appreciate that they are not opportunists. Typically, they are there for the long haul. So I think that is the one big thing we have earned is the trust and reputation, the respect in the industry. So that goes a long way. A lot of people who we placed 20 years back, they are all basically the CEOs, country managers. If you look at, we do so much of work with the startup world. And why? Because a lot of people whom we placed between 2004 and 10 in startups from IITs and all, when these guys were doing their ventures, we were the first port of call. Like Flipkart kind of company, we started working with them when they were operating from a 10 by 20 size office in Koramangala. So similarly with Ola, all these people. So a lot of them, we have known them in their jobs. And same thing is with the investors. So a lot of these investors, because we have been supporting them on their portfolio, a very large part of our mandate for senior hires comes from investors actually, typically because they have seen our, and they really want a good firm to actually work with them rather than the founders doing everything on their own, especially when it comes to senior hires.
Amazing. This Careernet business must be extremely profitable, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Because you have high retention rates, you don't have much
correct.
client acquisition costs because your client acquisition is all organic.
Yeah.
I guess you would only be spending money on higher pro business to build out technology.
Hyper also, I will say technology has become self-sustainable now. We are not
Okay.
basically, yeah, whatever licensing revenues and all we make, we are profitable on that as well. Yeah, because as companies, first 5 years, 7 years, you put money. After that, it basically stabilizes. So I think we have reached that level of stabilization now. So that way, you rightly said that we are very good in terms of profitability and very sustainable, typically on
So
this.
what kind of gross margin as a group do you?
We will do about close to 30% kind of gross margins. Yeah.
Amazing,
Yeah.
amazing, amazing, amazing. So this sounds like a good IPO ready kind of a business, right? With this kind of gross margin. And I am assuming you would be growing by 20-30% each year or
Yeah. Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah. COVID, of course, was a
So
very,
it's
very
like,
big positive bummer because, especially in technology, the hiring madness was unprecedented. So COVID, 3 years, easily the company grew almost 2.5 times. The last 12 months have been slightly tough because, as you know, the job markets are not doing so well. But I think we have covered a lot of ground in COVID, and we are quite able to defend that over there. So this year is more of a consolidation because of all the madness, 3 year madness starting from 2020, which has happened. 2 year madness, I will say. But yeah, overall we are on a good trajectory, and lot of diversification is happening in terms of industries now, because obviously IT and all we are doing very well. But now lot of focus on green power, yeah, EVs. Uh, those are the areas where a lot of addition is now happening because we see the defense, typically, Maru side of it, aviation and all that.
what was your top line in 1920? Just for
1920
comparisons.
might be, I'm not remembering exactly, but maybe 140, 130, 140 crores. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you're like you've doubled it
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
the last three
Easily
years,
doubled. Yeah.
basically.
Easily doubled.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. Okay, okay. So as I was saying, there's like a perfect for IPO kind of a business, right? Like growing 20, 30%, 30% gross margin.
So, yeah. So basically, one thing which I have always believed in, and this is not a new line. I told some friend investor 20 years back, and he reminded me last year that you remember you told me this line. I always believe the best companies are bought; they are never sold. Right? So of course, yeah, you are right that the kind of uniqueness we have in our industry and scale and size, profitability, we are definitely ready for an IPO. But the larger question is that why IPO? What do we want to do with the money is a question. Because we do not see, at least as of now, a lot of inorganic growth happening. Yeah. So from an organic growth point of view, whatever capital we require, we have a good amount of money to support and do that. So we will see. As of now, there is nothing immediately being planned out. Maybe over 2, 3 years, if anything requires, then IPO could be looked into. Okay.
But I guess if you want to go from 300 crores to let's say 1500 crores, an IPO would be the way forward, right? You would have to look at inorganic
Yes.
opportunities,
So
like what Info Edge has done,
yes.
like
Okay.
Info Edge continuously
So we are,
like they incubated, innovate,
yeah.
Zomato, Policy Bazaar, all of these.
So you are right. So we are now looking at doing a lot of prolific investments because we have good surplus. And since we work with a lot of these companies, we have a good idea about the health and growth of these companies. So I think that side has started in a quite a significant way. And our
Yeah.
IndiQube venture is where already like 125 crores we have put in from Careernet. So that money has already happened. So that's a substantial investment. That's a group company we have done in this. So I think that's the journey we have started. But you are right. We because in our business the challenge is to be very honest with you, the headroom for growth. When you are a market leader, growing beyond 15, 20% tends to be a challenge if you are not growing inorganic. And unfortunately, in the recruitment space, inorganic opportunities are very limited. The You see, if we decide to go the temping way, yes, we have a lot of headroom. But temping is an already I will say a green ocean. Temping is not something which is a blue ocean kind of a thing. So we do have small temping business that we are looking at scaling up over there. Then we are also seeing a lot of international expansion happening now because what has happened after COVID, the talent has become borderless. Companies are happy if somebody is sitting in Bangalore and working for a company in Vietnam. So we are now getting a lot of business from Korea, Vietnam, Mexico, Indonesia, these kind of countries also, where they are not expecting these individuals to actually go there and work. They'll be working sitting out of India. So I think that's a big opportunity because India is the largest pool of tech talent now, and that talent is in demand in all countries over there. So a lot of companies are reaching out for that business as well. So we see a lot of international expansion happening, and for us, and essentially we believe that our biggest strength is the Indian talent, and wherever the Indian talent is required or is going, I think Careernet should go to those places. And Hire Pro technology being there, we are able to deliver a lot of those projects remotely. Otherwise, if we have to set up 100 people team in each of these countries, it's a challenge. But we can do a lot of stuff remotely over there. So international expansion is clearly the focus. The Bharat story is a clear focus. The tier two, tier three growth, domain expansion is also happening, and more and more focus on automation. Then because I always believe that Naukri should do more rather than just being a job board kind of a thing. So we are trying to also see that if we can come up with something like a My Career Net kind of a thing, like where if any individual applies to us, then from there on, what more we can do? Can we provide them upskilling opportunities? Can we provide them regular updates, salary counseling? So there is a lot we can do on the B2C side. We have been mostly focused on the B2B side because I always say that we are in the business of finding jobs for people, people for jobs, not jobs for people. So I think if we go and do that part, finding jobs for people, then the market is very large. We are talking about millions of people getting addressed. So counseling, resume writing, a host of things we can do for individuals in a completely technology enabled manner. So a lot of focus is now also on the B2C side. So yeah.
Okay, interesting. Um, w- Going forward, you think Hire Pro will be a bigger part of your group revenue?
Uh,
Because it's more scalable, right? Like
Yeah,
SaaS
I agree with you.
business.
It should be. It should be. That's how we see that a large part of hiring will converge and move towards the higher pro way rather than the career net way.
Hmm.
But essentially, over a period of
Hmm.
time, headhunting in the purest form is going to become more and more niche, actually.
Hmm. Hmm. Because technology can do a lot of things which a
Yes.
headhunter does today.
Yes.
If
Correct.
not today, then in next couple of
Easily.
years,
Easily.
that will.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So you said you started doing investments. So you have like an investment team now within CareerNet, which evaluates. And do you do like angel investment or like Series A or like what's your investment thesis?
So basically, we don't have a team. The advantage we have because of our hiring and doing senior hires, typically in a lot of startups, we are privy to a lot of information. So I think we are able to actually get a lot of screened, good quality companies coming our way. So mostly it has been, I will say, a piggyback approach. If we have seen something good, somebody known to us putting in money, then we have been doing that. And we have been investing anywhere from about 50 lakhs going up to 2 crores in each of these companies. So normal ticket size is around that. And then we are now also coming in as a LP in different funds. So as newer funds are coming in, people are keen to have us also as a LP. So for at least 4, 5 funds, we are now LP in that businesses over there. So mostly that's the way we are doing as of now. But yeah, over the next 2 years, we definitely see that we will require a family office or a full-fledged team just managing this. But we are trying to basically put our handkerchief or be on as many tables as possible at this point of time, and then scale it up from there.
And what stage do you invest in? Like, early stage, Series A, what level then?
Uh, Mostly, yeah, you are right. Basically, Series A kind of stage, but not very early. Very early, like typically angel stage, unless until it's a proven person. Typically, some experienced team coming out, starting. We desist from doing that, and we are trying to put money into real businesses, typically rather than the last man standing businesses or winner takes it all kind of businesses, because it's our all our
Right.
post tax paid money, right? So we have to very prudently put that money. So we are conservative when it comes to investing in these companies.
Okay. Amazing. Amazing. Let's talk about IndiQube now. What was the origin of the idea, the birth of it? Like, and you have invested a lot of your personal funds in it. So just tell me about that journey of conceptualizing, building up IndiQube.
Yeah. So IndiCube birth or idea was, I will say, more incremental into our Careernet journey. So what was happening, because Careernet things were growing very well. So every 2 years, 3 years, we were changing office, and we were fed up with that, because when you take a new office, you do the interiors, and you put a lot of money, and if you have to get out after 2 3 years, you lose a lot of money, and then the whole pain of relocation and all that. So in 2011, we thought that why don't we pick up a larger office space? We required about 50,000 square feet for our growth at that time. So we were about 500, 600 people at that time. So with that intent, we thought that let's sign up a 100,000 square feet building, and 50,000 CareerNet will occupy. The other 50,000 we will give it to different companies. And because of CareerNet background at Hypro, we were having a lot of clients who might be happy to co-locate with us, not MNCs, but a lot of offshore development centers, startups, and all might be happy to come and be with us in the same office. So with that intent, we signed up a building in 2011. This was a build to suit. We signed up, and 2013 that building got ready. We moved in that building around April of 2013, and as planned, 50% of the space we gave to other companies. Now, once we had those companies in our building, that those companies started asking that, can I use your boardroom once a month? The training room that we have created for us, using that, the food, the transport, the IT infrastructure. So many things that we created for our own requirement. Those companies, being smaller companies, they wanted to leverage all of that, and we found it a very prudent business decision also to give them the things, right? Because we had better economies of scale. If more people are using my internet cost goes down and all that. So we happily did that, and within 6 8 months, by the end of 2013, we realized that there is a big gap in the market. That at one end you have tech park kind of things, which are mostly on the periphery of the cities, and then you have very swanky buildings like your One Horizon Tower in Gurgaon, or you have India Bull Center in Bombay, or UB City in Bangalore, and all that. Now those buildings are not affordable by anyone and everyone over there. So then, if you get out of these properties, you realize that you have individual landlords, and the whole market is very very unbranded. You really don't know that the building has compliances. Will the landlord pay the property taxes on time? Will they be maintaining the lifts properly? Will the DG run when the power is not there, and all that? So that was a gap. We could see that the concept of services, the concept of brand reliability, all that is not non-existent over there. So this is something which we started figuring out. Then our career expansion was happening, and when these guys were there, we asked them, "Ki, okay, why don't you vacate? Because we require more space for CareerNet." Then a few of these companies prompted us that, why are you asking us to go? Can you take some space nearby and give us space there? So that was our prompt, and then to start IndiQube. So, so I think this idea was brewing in our minds in that 2 3 year period, and 2015 is when this whole thing actually shaped up. So at that point of time, me and my brother both were very actively focused on the Careernet side of the business. So my better half, Meghna, and my father, they both ventured into this and full time, and of course we were supporting them in this whole thing. And we signed up our first property in around March of 2015 on Outer Ring Road of about 150,000 square feet. And within 6 months, we could fully fill up the whole space. And we had no background into real estate. We were always told that real estate is for local people, it is not for migrants, and it's a dirty business, political connections, this, that, all that was there. But on the contrary, we found that nothing of that type actually came in our way, and very smoothly we could fill it up. Then it boosted our confidence. We picked up another property in 2015. And KPMG came and took that property because they were doing a large campus for themselves, so that was taking almost 2.5 years more. So they needed a transit space. So within 2015, we almost had more than 200,000 square feet of space.
Yeah, how many seats? 2,000 square feet.
This will be about 4,000 seats. Yeah,
Okay.
4,000 seats. So basically, that gave us a lot of confidence that okay, we have hit something big, and let's now go whole hog into this business. Uh, from the so one like the way we started career, to be honest with you, we started in a very similar way. There was no business plan as such. There was no TAM or any of those things. We found an opportunity and we said, okay, let's go for it. Uh, and from the beginning, our thesis was that this is a B2B business. This is an enterprise business. Because of our recruiting background, we were very clear that why companies invest in good quality spaces. See, the biggest consumer of spaces in India is IT industry, followed by startups and all now. And when I'm saying IT industry, I'm including all possible verticals and all of that into that. ITES, you can call it. Now, in most of these companies, the customer never comes to their office. Customer is in US or somewhere else. So why companies are creating these good offices? The primary idea is to attract and retain employees. So the hero of the story for all these companies is the employee. Now, and since we have been dealing with the employees for 2 decades, we knew that what IT industry is looking for, what is their pain point, and when companies were hiring, they always will worry about where office should be there and not there and all that. Location selection and all that was always a question. We used to which city to go, which location to go, and all that. So we had good clarity that what is required, and we figured out that the hero of the story is the employee, not anybody else. And let's see that what is required by the employee. So employee after work, good quality place to work. They require affordable food. They require affordable transport to commute. They require recreation, some amount of wellness. These are the things which the employee is looking for. In 100 rupee in India, people want to have a full meal, that too with sambar, dosa, chutney, everything, right? It's not like US that you go in a tuck shop, you have banana and chips, and you are done with your lunch, kind of a thing. Similarly, with transport, we don't have urban transport like Delhi, of course, now with metro being there. But if you look at most of the other Indian cities, the urban transport is very, very weak. It is still evolving and coming up. So we said that okay, let's just focus on the core. That whatever improves the life of the employee will be our focus. Number one. Second is basically the ease of doing business. That okay, how can we ensure that the company's employees are more productive, and how can we ensure that the company is also more productive? Like for example, we knew that IT industry, most of the companies will have servers, they will have labs. Now you can't say that discontinuity of power is a clear no. It's a clear red line for any software company. So the quality of power and the continuity of power is paramount for these companies over there. And since so like that, whatever could improve their such like maintenance, for example. Now if you do interiors today, you have 10 to 15 different vendors maintaining for different things, and no company wants that. Every company wants one vendor where they can call up a single window kind of a thing. So ease of doing business is very, very important. Productivity is very, very important. The employee delight is very important. These are, and then the accessibility to these office spaces. You can't tell everybody to go to a Manesar in Gurgaon and operate, right? Kind of a thing. So these were the central themes, and also one more thing, last thing which I will highlight is that every company wants to be in their own office. Suppose I am a company with 200 employees. Now I want my company culture to be promoted. I want my employees to know my logo colors. I want my branding and signages to be visible in my own office. I'm okay as a company to share the washrooms, the cafeteria, and stuff like that. But within the four walls, I want my stuff. One. Second, the link to that is that every company has a different way to look at benefits. Like in Careernet case, for example, we decided to give food to every employee. Now, somebody may like not to spend so much on food, but may like to spend more on transport for their employees, or they might like to do both of them. Now, companies may say that I am not comfortable offering a 30 rupee cup coffee. I am okay with 5 rupee cup coffee, but I don't mind giving employees biscuits or fruits in the office. So every company has a different view on employee benefits over there. So one size does not fit all. You can't tell that okay, there is a five-star buffet, take it or leave it. Right? You need to personalize. You need to have a 199 pizza and then say that there are toppings, right? And with those toppings, you can make your own pizza, kind of a thing. That personalization is the expectation, and India is a price conscious market. So people invariably, if you give them three choices, they will go with the middle choice. Like cars, when we buy, we don't buy the top end, we don't buy the lowest end model, we mostly buy the middle one with some accessories. That's the general mindset with most of the products which we have. So office is no different from that. So I think those were the things which came very handy to us, and we were clear from the beginning. And that is how, of course, the struggle in IndiQube was very different. To be very honest, there was no struggle, so to say, because by that time, career and business was doing well. We had built our own reputation in the market. All that was there, so we did not had any bootstrapping moments as such. But the core principles of being frugal, getting the unit economics right, basically building a good culture in the team, being cognizant about upstream, downstream opportunities. Like in, say, when we did Hire Pro, we looked at all the upstream, downstream opportunities in the recruitment supply chain. So very similarly, when we have got here, what is upstream, downstream has to be looked into, and where we can do in house or partner and all that has been the driving force, and that is how the journey of IndiQube started shaping up in 2015-16.
Okay, so I want to zoom in to some of the things that you said. Um, First of all, help me understand the economics of this business. Like, uh, how does one campus? Okay, even before that, I have a more fundamental question. I believe there are two models of shared workspaces. One is like a WeWork model, where
Yeah.
WeWork has built it out, and then they find people who will take seats in it. Second is, I guess, SmartWorks kind of a model where they build as per specifications. So if a company says, I want a place for 50 employees, then they will build it as per the company specifications and then lease it out. I guess that would more be like a leasing, whereas what WeWork does is more of co-working. Uh, what is the IndiQube's model? And am I
So
right in this
you are
in
right.
my
You are right.
understanding?
To be very honest with you, Akshay, this is where the thing started. Typically, that one was the Weaver school of thought, which was more the typical Regus, if you call it. The business centers used to be the older version of it, and then from there the newer version came in, which is the co-working. Essentially, what co-working means is short size, short stay, or short stay. Like companies will go to that place because if they have 5, 10, 20 employees, they are okay. Or if they know that they are starting an India center and they don't know what will happen after 1 year, then they will go into a short stay kind of a location. So short size, short stay defined our business centers, and to a large extent the co-working. Now, once people started, the enterprises started latching onto it, is where this whole concept of long stay, large size, personalization, and all that started coming in. And I think the both the schools of thought, the personalized as well as not personalized at all, the business center model has started converging. And today I can say that everybody in the market is doing both. That's a fair assessment of the thing. Now, for most companies, the pivot could be, for some, still it might be the co-working. For some, it might be the enterprise. I think for a company like us, our pivot is the enterprise. Like, for example, 90% of the business that we do is all enterprise business, where we provide personalized, customized offices. About 10% is co-working for us, and co-working is very important to us, even though the number is small, because that is the place where a lot of younger companies or startups come to us. It's like, if you don't have a play school, you can't feed into your school. But you have to be clear that are you in the school business or in the play school business. So we
That's like
clearly
a
are this.
top of the funnel for you. So some of those
Yes.
co-working clients end up becoming enterprise clients.
Lot of them actually, because see, real estate by nature is very sticky. If you see, once you get into an office and your employees get used to that whole thing, then unless until there is a big push, people do not change offices, because a lot of your employees take their residences around the office and stuff like that. And uprooting offices is not easy. You have to change all addresses. Your internet connection has to be changed, and then the whole relocation, all that is there. So and that is where you see a DLF or a Prestige in Bangalore or Embassy have developed. Most of these guys started 20 years back into the bylanes, right, around the Udyog Vihar side, or Bangalore, if you see all bylanes of MG Road. And then they gave some small space to a large MNC, and said, okay, give me a commitment of 5 years, which we call as a lock-in term. And that lock-in never got over. They knew required more space, more space. And today, you see that relationship is started with 5,000 square feet, has become a 5 million square feet relationship. So there is a huge stickiness in this business, for all these reasons. And so it is very important to catch companies young, and be with them in their growth, and build out from there on. So today, if you look at the market has good bad about 300 players. So it's quite a fragmented business. And why it is fragmented to that extent? Because most of the developers which have offices, like when I say developers, I'm not talking the big ones. There are lots of them which have one building, two building. Now, if their younger generation is interested in starting something, they will put out some fit out and then say that we are co-working. So there are lot of, I will say, one center or one city companies, a very large number of them. But if you look at a pan India, multi city, really large players, 5 million square feet plus, I will say the market is between 5 to 7 players.
Who are those 5 to 7 players?
So, like you look at us, WeWork, SmartWorks, AWFIS, Tablespace, to some extent Simply Works. These will be the five players, which will be among the largest over there. Then there will be people like 91 Springboard and few smaller ones, and then a few players who have done well in given cities, like Red Break and like that kind of players. Scooter in Gurgaon has done very well over there. So if you look at about 10 players will be there, and out of which about five will be the pan India larger players, and who have raised institutional capital as well. Because it's in this business, it's not easy to raise institutional capital, because institutional capital tends to not go beyond the top five in any category, because they always try to put their money behind the top one or two. This being a large category, maybe the upper limit is five players. So I think increasingly, and real estate is a lot about location also. So as a result of that, it is wrong to say that the market will be with five players only. There will always be landlords who will have great buildings, great locations, and those buildings will do well just because they happen to be at a great location and all that. So yeah, so it will be fair to say that 50 to 60% of the market is and will consolidate in the favor of top five, six players, and the consolidation will be more driven by the demand side than the supply side, because the demand side will be more and more discerning. Typically, like for the reasons of ease of doing business, business continuity, credibility, and then this whole focus on ESG is going to come in, where like companies will like to be in low carbon emission buildings, green buildings, and all that. So I think that is where the men and boys will start getting differentiated. And since it's a B2B business, corporates invariably will ask for compliances, would like to go with better quality players and all that. So I think the demand side is what is going to push more and more consolidation.
Uh, can you just help me understand what you mean when you say consolidation will be on demand side rather than supply side? What is the
So
difference? Supply
basically,
side consolidation would mean you sign up
supply
a
side
lot of
means
buildings.
basically that more people start the business. I don't see
Okay.
that there is going to be any dearth of supply of buildings. Uh,
Hmm.
but the customer is going to say, look, I don't want to go beyond top five
Hmm.
because I am going to run my business. So I
Hmm.
want to only go with players which have high credibility. So basically the customer is going to demand more and more, and that will push the consolidation. Where
Okay.
beyond
Okay.
top five,
Okay.
yeah, yeah,
Hmm. Unlike, say, D2C brands, where there is a demand for many
yeah,
different types of D2C brands because
exactly.
each customer has
Correct.
their unique preference of
Yes,
taste and flavor and smell
yes,
and
yes.
packaging. And
Exactly.
so
You said
okay,
it right,
got it.
actually. That's the
Okay.
other extreme because of the long
Hmm.
tail. And as India is becoming richer, the long tail is only becoming more and more meaty. So there will be a lot of D2C companies going after that.
Okay, I understood that. Okay, what is the profitability metrics, or what drives profitability here? Like, let's say you have one space, one campus, one building, whatever. What are the economics of it? At what percentage occupancy does it become profitable, and so on? Just help me understand the economics of this business.
So before the economics, I will start with that why the customer looks at us. Because when you deal with enterprise clients, the invariably the decisions are taken by the CFO organizations, procurement, and all that. And these are all hardened, tough folks. So why they should come to a managed office? And traditional understanding has been that if you go to a business center, it is expensive. uh, but where the business centers are different from managed offices is that they are long stay, large size. And the moment you get into long stay, large size, the customer invariably is going to look at a you versus me kind of a computation. Now, multiple things make this cheaper than the end customer decision to go on their own. One is the way we procure the real estate. So, for example, when we go and take up a building, we take up a full building, and we take up a building on a 20-year lease. Now, if a end customer were to go, they will take for 5 years. They may say, I will take a floor. So obviously, the landlord will be more excited about giving a better commercial if you are taking for 20 years in the whole building, right? It solves a bigger problem for him or her. Then you look at the interiors. Now, a customer may come and at best they may amortize their interior over 5 years. But when we do interiors, then our air conditioning, electrical, a lot of our interiors are amortized over 8 9 years. Our carpets and chairs may last lesser, but a lot of them last longer over there. Then you look at the services. When we deploy manpower, they also do common area maintenance. They do the office maintenance. When somebody else deploys the manpower, they will only do their office maintenance. We have one security for the entire building, for example. Now, if you have a small office, also you still require a security guard, or in three shifts, kind of a thing. So there is then same thing applies to chai, coffee, internet, anything that you can think of. So there is a huge economies of scale that we are able to build in. There is a much better utilization that we bring in. I look at this way that 20 years back, if you go to any shopping complex, every shop used to have its own DG, and the power used to go and everybody will pull out those Honda gensets and run them, right? Then came the concept that why don't we have just one DG for the entire building and pay for the DG power rather than having our own DGs. Now think about it, that if 20 companies are there and everybody requires a UPS for uninterrupted power, and everybody sets up a UPS room, and everybody is cooling that UPS room 24 bar 7. Instead of that, if you have one centralized UPS room in the building, the same benefits that you get for DG apply to UPS also. Same thing with cafeteria. So a lot of your redundant spaces get reduced. So if you add up the space efficiency, economies of scale, longevity of the assets, and all of that,
if there is a clear case of 30 to 40% price reduction, what the customer will be spending. If customer is going to spend 100 rupees, then this whole cost comes down to 60, 65, 70 rupees, depending upon the scale it comes down to. Now that 30 rupee is a big arbitrage that has got created, which is what gets shared between the customer and us, basically. And that justifies why this business is able to scale up. And this is not a boutique business. This is not a niche business. This is a mainstream business. We have given spaces to companies like Ultratech Cement, Mahindra Logistics, Air India. Now these are Indian companies. They will negotiate with you to the second decimal, right? Kind of thing. They are not MNCs who don't mind paying some money here, there, kind of a thing. And neither they are very high flyer startups, right? These are hardened companies who understand India and Bharat very well. So now, after COVID, we are finding that a lot of these companies are taking up space. HDFC Bank has taken up space like that. Federal Bank has taken up space. So I think this is to the way I see it, that this is a 2.0 of commercial real estate. The way people are going to consume real estate is changing. Think about it. 30 years back, when somebody was selling an apartment, right? They were selling the four walls. Today, everybody is selling a dream, the clubhouse and the amenities and this and membership and all of that. Nobody's selling the four walls, right? Interior done and this and that kind of thing. So I think today people are looking for an experience in everything, and offices are no different from that. And post COVID, when employees don't want to come back, employers want to come back, them to come back. So employers are outdoing each other to see what more they can offer to their employees. And the crowd is changing. The millennial crowd is in. Everybody goes and looks at a Facebook or a Google office in US and aspires to have a same kind of office and all that. So the customer is becoming a lot more discerning. There is a lot more push from their employees happening over there. So that is, and also you look at 20 years back, every builder thought that they can make a hotel and run it, or they can create a mall and run it. But when mall operators like Phoenix came in, builders realized that owning a mall or owning a hotel is a different game, but running it is a different game. So the operators and the ownership has got decoupled. And I think commercial real estate is seeing the same kind of decoupling between ownership and management. So people like us will be operators, and there will be owners like DLFs of the world or Prestige or Embassy. They will continue, or the REITs now, the Brookfield, Blackstone, and all. They will continue to own the real estate. So I think that decoupling is happening, and the way the real estate is being consumed is changing, and that is further accentuating this trend over there. So that's the broad economics, basically, that we operate at about 15% to 20% gross margins in our business over there. Of course, and we have to run at good occupancies. Our businesses break at about, operationally, the buildings break even at about 50-60% occupancy. And any number above 80% is when we start turning profitable into most of the buildings. Buildings which tend to be a lot more expensive, the break-even points are slightly higher, because if you go and take a property in BKC in Bombay, the rentals are very, very high. So they tend to break even at higher occupancies compared to the cheaper ones.
I'm guessing your pricing would also be different, right? For a building in
Yeah,
BKC versus
yeah,
something in
yeah,
Navi
yeah.
Mumbai.
Absolutely.
What's your
Has to be.
pricing range like a per seat pricing?
Pricing range starts anywhere from, I will say, about 7,000, goes up to about 12, 13,000 typically. Rarely it will touch 15,000. So most of our spaces are given between 8 to 10,000 rupees a seat, typically. That's the
And
bulk.
this is for the core service, not for the other upstream, downstream opportunities. You mentioned that there are upstream and downstream monetization opportunities here. Those are
Yeah.
add-ons to this 8 to 10,000. What are those? Just help me understand some of them.
So basically, this 8 to 10,000 or a typical seat comes with a basic amount of internet that is promised. It comes with tea, coffee is included as part of that, and the normal working hours are covered, like say 9 to 7 kind of working hours, 5 days a week are part of this whole thing, with some basically optimal level of parking. Now, some customer may come and say that I want to run night operations also. So obviously their power consumption is going to be higher. So they need to pay for that. Similarly, if they want to avail any kind of food or transport or specialized internet, they need to pay extra for those things. So we have basically a lump sum pricing, plus we have a la carte pricing, where if their consumption goes up, then they can just top it up by that number. So that allows them to have a lot of flexibility as well into the pricing models.
What are the drivers for growing this? Is it about being able to acquire premium locations, good properties, or is it about being able to acquire good customers?
So this Akshay varies. Like for example, if you take the case of Gurgaon, if you talk about Golf Course Road, for example, or you talk about Huda City Center, those are very good performing markets. So there, the key thing is about acquiring good quality real estate. But if you go to Sona Road or if you go to Manesar, it's the other way. It is about having the customer. Or Noida, for example, large parts of Noida are it's a consumers market, it's a tenants market, it's not a landlords market. So wherever it's a tenants market, supply will tend to be larger over there, and landlords market is where the supply is in short typically. So those places will have premium. So I think that is how the power balance moves between the two of them.
And what is your customer acquisition approach? Is it through existing relationships? Because Careernet obviously would have a lot of relationships that
Yeah.
you can leverage.
So if you look at, we are quite unique in this industry, because most of the players we have in our industry, they all happen to be from real estate background or happen to be from different background. But we are quite unique. So our one third of the business comes from referrals. These are essentially companies who have taken up space in Careernet. Because Careernet, if you see, last year we built 1,600 different enterprises in India. So imagine 1,600 enterprises in India, we have a first-hand relationship. And India, good, bad, will have 10,000 meaningful enterprises over there. So our coverage is very, very high over there. And first thing, when somebody comes in India, starts operations in India, will say that I need people. That's a big reason people come here. And so obviously, among when they talk about people, we are among the top two, three firms in India. Where I pick up anybody in Big Four, and if these companies go and ask for a recommendation, invariably they will recommend Careernet in the top two or three. So when our guys go, obviously they ask that where are you looking at setting up. So we have a huge advantage over there of that. So one third of our business comes from that. One third comes from our growth of existing clients who are already with us. I talked about the stickiness bit in this. Another third comes from our brokers, basically. And within that, almost, I will say, out of this one third, 20% comes from the IPCs, which are the larger brokers like CBRE, JLL, Cushman. About 12-13% comes from the smaller brokers, the local brokers over there. So that allows us to ensure that it goes back to your point that we have reasonably good control on the customer inflow, and as a result, yeah, we tend to do better.
Amazing. What scale is IndiQube at currently? How many seats?
So we
How many
have now,
cities? How many
yeah.
campuses?
So we have 6 million square feet of space now, and
Hmm.
6 million square feet will mean about 120,000 odd seats. We have 100,000 plus seats. We are present in 12 cities. So if you look at NCR, we have Noida and Gurgaon. Then Bombay, Chennai, Hyderabad, Bangalore, Pune. We have a good presence now in Tier 2, Jaipur, Kochi, Coimbatore, Lucknow. These are the Tier 2 locations. Madurai we have now, and we are adding to Tier 2 locations over there. And we have close to 80 properties, 80 centers are there across India. So yeah, so that's the broad breakup. Uh,
And how much revenue will you close this year at for IndiQube?
this year we
Estimate.
will do about close to about 900 crores top line.
Wow.
That's yeah. So yeah, so that should be the guiding number.
So this has already
Last year,
overtaken the core. core business. Like it's 3x of your
Yeah, yeah,
core
yeah,
business
yeah,
in a
yeah.
way.
This is a much
Wow.
much bigger business. The TAM,
Uh,
as you say, the TAM is much larger in this. This is an ocean actually. Real estate is real.
yeah,
So
amazing, amazing. And what do you think? Will more growth come from tier one or tier two? Like, what trends are you seeing in terms of where demand is coming from?
So tier one will continue to be a very dominant force when it comes to the absorption. So if you look at India absorbs about 45 million square feet of net absorption of commercial real estate. This is a grade A absorption that happens in India, and this is predominantly in the tier ones as of now. Tier two number will be
This is
maybe a
annual
million
absorption, like
annual
45 million per
absorption.
year. Okay.
Yeah. So total stock of grade A real estate in India is about 750 million square feet, and we are adding about 45 to 50 million year on year. And within this 45 million, Bangalore is 13 million, 12 to 13 million. Bombay is 4 to 5 million. NCR is 5 million. Hyderabad is 7 million. So just imagine the power of Bangalore typically when it comes to new addition. Of course, Bombay, the existing base of real estate is very large. Bombay has 2 million square feet, 200 million square feet of space, which is already there. Bangalore is about 160 million, but Bangalore is growing much faster than Bombay over there. So tier twos are coming up, and tier two we are finding that cities like Coimbatore, Indore, will do well. Ahmedabad will do very well because cities see the way Pune and Bangalore came up 25 years back. I think in a lot of ways that same story will get repeated over the next 15-20 years. Indore, Coimbatore, they happen to be very strong educational bases. They happen to be good manufacturing centers. So the average work culture in those cities is good. Climate is good over there. Talent availability is quite good, and there is a lot of diaspora from these cities which has gone and worked in different places. So they are okay to relocate. Like you talk to average guy in Pune, half of them will say that I came here for education and never went back. Pune is full of such people over there. So I think these cities should do, and they have scale. Unlike say cities like Bhubaneswar and all, or even Chandigarh for that matter, doesn't have scale. But these cities have scale. Lucknow kind of places will take own time. The current government has done a good job of fixing the hardware, but software takes long time to fix. The culture, the attitude, and all of that. So I think those places will come up. But definitely, like when we talk about a $5 or $10 trillion economy, definitely this can't be a six city phenomena. We definitely see 15, 20 more growth engines getting added. And as IndiQube, our focus is that there are 50 cities in India which have a population of 1 million plus. So we want to be in all the 50 cities. Presence is given. Now comes ki, okay, which cities we want to be at scale. So that is a function of opportunity. So presence wise, we will be everywhere. Scale wise, we will see as just things mature.
I'm guessing one of your secret sauces is your decision making on where to set up your next center, right? Like that would be like a very key
Yeah,
thing
very
which
key.
determine, because if you set up in a wrong place and you don't get occupancy, you
Yes,
start making losses.
absolutely.
So is
So
there a science behind this, like where you
there is science.
set up?
There is clear science. Fully agree with you. And science and art both, to be honest with you. At the end of the day, in India, the disparity in real estate is such that the two buildings next to each other might have a different fate because there might be a pawn shop outside one of them or a puncture shop next to it, right? So in India, the standardization in real estate is just not there. Every building, every nook, every corner is unique to that extent. But there is science. So what we always say is that we don't look at the city as a city. We look them as micro markets. So for us, Golf Course Road is a different market. Manesar is a different market. Udyog Vihar is a different market. Sona Road is a different market. Noida, again, within Noida, Expressway is different. 62, 63 is different. So there are at least 10 different micro markets in NCR over there. And if you start adding in that way, India will have like 50, 60 sizable large micro markets where there is good office activity there. So each micro market we have to look at that. As I said in the beginning, that it's a tenants market or it's a landlords market. There are evergreen markets like our golf course road. No brainer, any stone you throw will hit the target over there. But when you go to other locations, you have to be careful. And you have to always. I always say that Delhi changed its business high street 5 times in 30 years. Right, started with Nirula's when we were all growing up. Then it moved to Priya. Then it moved to Saket. Then it moved to MG Road in Gurgaon. Now it is Aero City. So 5 times Delhi has changed its high street in 30 years. And I think a lot of Indian cities will see that kind of a transition happening over there. So we are very clear that we have to have our fingers in the game. At the same time, we have to be sensitive that we don't scale up too early or too late, kind of a thing. So first we want to build presence. So it's like firing a bullet. Don't fire a cannonball, and wait to see that if your bullet is hitting the target, then be ready with a cannonball, and then go whole hog. Like if you look at a city like Chennai, we just picked up a property of 50,000 square feet. And 18 months back, we were just one property in Chennai. Now, today, we are 8 lakh square feet, which is almost like close to 20,000 seats over there. Purely because we saw that we just wanted to test the market and then just went berserk. Same thing we are doing in Coimbatore now. As a tier two, we are seeing a lot of growth happening over there. So, and India, the way India is growing, India will keep surprising us on the positive and negative side. But you are so right on that, that I will give you the data that before COVID, we had 50 properties and we left just one property of 30,000 square feet in Bombay. So, till date, we have not closed any center. And all our centers are profitable. That's another fact I will share with you now. So we are quite clear and we are conservative because our growth philosophy has been that growth at any cost comes at a huge cost. Right? It comes at the cost of relationships. It comes at the cost of health, wealth, everything. Right? So let's grow in a very very sustained and consistent manner. And this business, you can't be on a ego trip. Just because somebody is picking up the space, you are doing it and all that. And you look at all developers, right? uh, uh, in Delhi NCR, how many developers were what and what they are today. So I think you, if somebody is doing it, best of luck to them. But you have to play your own game in this. Never get carried away, because in this business, the choice of making this big mistakes is just death. uh, Builders के लिए the same situation is there. If you have a large project and one bad project can just pull down 20 years of your work over there, so you have to be very very careful. Better late than never, kind of a thing. uh, and we treat every property that we take as an investment. And as an investor, if you have investments, they give you long term pain or pleasure. So you should be very choosy and careful in picking up those investments. Same like properties in our case over there.
Amazing. Do you plan to raise external funds for IndiQube?
So IndiQube, we have raised 2 rounds. This is There is a large private equity fund called Westbridge Capital. They are a $8 billion fund now, and a very marquee, respectable fund. And most of their LPs are university endowments like Stanford, Princeton, and all in US. So they decided to make an exception by putting 100 crores. This was in 2018, and the last round we did was last year March, where 225 crores we raised. 100 crores came from them, and 125 crores was put in by us. So we led the round, and we are playing with our own money. And basically, so totally, if you see, we have now almost 325 crores of equity capital. 200 has come from Westbridge, 125 has come from us. Yeah. And
Amazing.
we have,
Amazing.
yeah, we have 70% plus shareholding in the company. We want to keep the business. We don't want to sell the business. And definitely this business is a IPOable business, typically. And at some stage we'll have to give exit to investors. So I think this business might see IPO earlier than Careernet.